Tim is very much a local lad, but knows what it's like to grow up as a black man in Belfast, and he's suffered as a result of it, sadly. Chaps, good morning. Good morning.
Hi, Frank. How are you?
All good, Tim. Susan, what's, just for people who aren't fully across this, what's the idea behind it?
Well, BFI Black Star is a national campaign, and it's about celebrating how brilliant black actors are, black on-screen talent, but also black off-screen talent as well. So it's about writers, directors, as well as actors. And it's just really letting people see maybe these films that they haven't seen in the same context, and actually celebrating the diversity of talent that the film industry has.
But do we still in 2016 need to do something like this? I know there was the whole controversy about black actors and black directors and whatever not getting the recognition they deserved at the Oscars. That's a sad reflection on 2016 society.
Oh no, it is, and I think it's incredibly important. And I think when you actually look at the stories that do make it onto the screen, it's still really clear that there isn't a real true reflection of diversity. So this season is trying to redress that.
So what will you be showing? What will you be doing at QFT?
Well, what we've really tried to do is frame things in a local context so that I think local audiences can sort of find things that will interest in them and then bring them into the season. So for the first week, we've got a season of films that look at civil rights and the sort of whole race and equality issues, which I think is something that's obviously really relevant to Northern Ireland. So we have a screening of Selma, which is a brilliant film from last year. We have a screening coming up of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which is a fantastic 60s film with Sidney Poitier. He's an amazing black actor. We just had 12 Years a Slave, The Colour Purple. So that's our first strand. And then coming up, we've got a season that's a retrospective of Forrest Whitaker, brilliant actor who everything he's in is a fantastic film. And then we've got a season of music films. There's also comedy screenings. There's outdoor screenings. There's lots of things going on across the region.
You mentioned Sidney Poitier. I want to just play this little clip.
For a moment, I thought I was in the wrong class. Where's Jackson?
We don't know, sir. Old Titch wouldn't miss nothing like this unless he was sick or something.
Well, we'll give him a few minutes.
It's me, Sir Jackson. I've got to take the bag wash from me mum. Can you wait a jiffy, please?
Sure. How long will it take?
Half a mo, just up the front. Lord love you, sir.
Yeah, hang on, Titch. I'll give it a hand.
All right. Back on the sidewalk. What's a frog got to do with it?
Oh, it's rhyming slang, sir. You know, old-fashioned Cockney.
It's not used anymore, sir. It's just for the old people. Oh, it's a drag, sir.
Frog means road, sir. Frog and Toad Road.
Trouble and strife, why?
Weeping Willow Pillow. You just used the first word, see?
Like the old currant bun, sir. That's a sun. Apples and pears, stairs.
Up your kilts, till.
Sweet as meat. Ginger beer, queer.
On aboard.
Sidney Poitier acting in a film called To Sir with Love, and it was embarrassing to some extent as to how he was treated in that movie and how bizarre it was to see a successful black teacher in a London environment, Tim. Mm-hmm. And you understand that, don't you?
Yeah, well, I certainly wasn't a teacher in London or anything. That feeling of disconnect and being a misfit at times is certainly a theme that runs through my life, and it's one that sort of resonates, and so when I was writing my book, I realised I grew up in West Belfast, Frank, and I always believed that I fitted in and that I was just like everyone else, and a nationalist and a shared experience of the troubles and things like that. But as I started to catalogue a lot of the things that happened to me and reflect on them, then I realised that just how people behave around me all the time, the things that they say, even well-meaning things. There's a distance where people think that you're not really one of us, and the title of my book is Where Are You Really From? And the word really in that title is well, the phrase comes from people saying to me all the time, you know, where are you from? And I'll say the Falls Road, and I go, no, where are you really from? And that word really is a challenge to me, you know. It tells me that whoever I'm speaking to doesn't really believe that I'm Irish or that I could be Irish. And I'll say, well, I've got an Irish name and I was born in Belfast and all, and they'll still push it. And I go, no, I know, but where are your mummy and daddy from? And, you know, because I don't accept the story you're telling me. If you were Irish, you would be white, you know, is what they're saying. And so a lot of my experience is about challenges to my identity and to my authenticity as a person, you know, that if you're Irish or if you're from the, as we like to say in Belfast, the two communities, you know, then there are certain, you're going to look a certain way, you're going to think a certain way. And I think, well, so, you know, I don't fit in there neatly, you know, so yeah, that film, it's been a while from I've watched it, but that film, as you're saying, about a disconnect in somebody, a fish out of water experience, yeah, that's been a theme right through my life.
I was out on Friday night. I was at an event, and a young woman in her early 20s came up to me, a young black woman, and she said, I haven't met you for years. And I thought to myself, gosh, where have I met you before? And she said, the last time I met you, I was in primary one and I was in school around the corner. Mm-hmm. And amazingly, I could almost remember her. And sadly, because there were very few black kids on school around the corner. Mm-hmm. But that is rapidly changing in society now. Go into any good, healthy class in Belfast at the moment, I would say in other market towns as well around Northern Ireland, there's a good healthy representation of black kids and ethnic minority kids.
Absolutely. I live right beside, the other side of my garden wall is a primary school, and I grew up as the only kid who attended it who was black. Whereas now you'll see Muslim kids coming up, and Chinese, West Africans, Filipinos, and so sometimes it's like a little mini United Nations coming out at 2:00, you know, which is brilliant, and probably one of the best things is watching the local white kids interacting with people wearing Muslim headscarves and things like that, and thinking nothing of it. To them, it all seems like the most natural thing in the world. I pick up on every little nuance of it all, you know, because I mean, one of the stories I tell that's in the book is when I was maybe primary 2 or 3, something like that, my mum bought me an Indian, Native American, we would say now, but as a kid, like a red Indian headdress thing, like Geronimo or someone might have worn in a John Wayne movie. And I wore it and stood at the front door, and so it was all bright yellow feathers and stuff, and there was a little tomahawk, like a little hatchet type thing, and so I was standing there thinking, all the kids when they get out of school are going to be so jealous of this outfit, you know, but when the kids came down the path, they looked at me, they saw something totally different, so they started pointing and laughing and making sort of American Indian war cries and stuff like that, you know, or else just calling me names, and I froze on the spot, and that little instance taught me, you know, don't ever make that mistake again. Don't ever think that you can show off your ethnicity and or be proud of, you know, this dark skin or anything like that. From here on in, just blend in, keep your head down. So, well, you see kids now running around with footballer haircuts or LA Lakers shirts on, and how heavily influenced they are by rap culture and all of that. I didn't have any of that at all, you know. I had like 2 role models, you know, Pele and Muhammad Ali, I think, you know, and so. And both of those, especially when I was playing football, people would say, oh, Tim, you're Pele, or Eusebio was another one, you know. And those things made me sort of squirm and tense up. And so I never felt expansive about showing off any sort of aspects of black culture. I mean, I'm wearing a top today that says Bronx on it, you know. But in the 70s, I had to run a mile from this top, so and as you say, that has changed over time, as we witness and are influenced by people coming to this country, and certainly what we see on television, and just the growth of black culture. But for me, it was all a very sharp lessons were learned, and
Did you get any more overt racism directed towards you? Did people use brutal terminology about the colour of your skin?
oh God, yeah, all the time. And from I was a child, the British Army came into the areas, and we lived in a very strongly Republican area, and I myself, it's well documented, I'm a Republican, so the British Army came into our street, and this was going back to the early 70s, that they would have heard the bin lids going and whistles and all of that type of stuff, and just general hostility from people or indifference from people in the street. And there would have been, way back to England, British bees, and they would have been saying, using fairly strong language back to the residents in the street. The one thing the British Army didn't expect was to see anyone black in the street, so when they saw me, they were sort of, I became an easy target of what they would consider a weak link, even though I was only a child. So they would have called me all sorts of black this, black that, and get back to the jungle and all of that type of thing, so
did you get any of that from local people in Belfast?
Well, this is the ironic thing, is that sometimes in the foot patrols there would be a black soldier, and whenever they came into our street, they were always, as you know, they used to come in blocks of 8 or 12 and into the street, and I wasn't so much worried about the British Army coming into the street. My concern was, would there be a black soldier among them? Because if there was, then we both got it. We got it. We were getting shot by all sides, and sometimes the British soldiers would come in and say, "Hey, Joe, is that your wee brother? And are you his dad?" and all of that. And that would make me really tense, And people in the street used to say, if there were any racist remarks made to me, that people would be saying, "Well, what are you picking on him for? Look at your man over there. He's a, whatever." And they would shout to him, "Go back to the jungle," and all this, And
Did you get any of that predictable insult where people were saying to you, "Your dad must have been a soldier"?
Yeah, I think that was a rumour in the area. Now, not everyone raced to tell me that, but only when I was older, people said, "Yeah, well, we used to wonder," and even when you were walking down the street, we would have, "Where's he from?" And so yeah, that was a natural bit of speculation, I guess. But as I say, most times, because most of the people in the street were obviously very friendly to me. I mean, when the British soldiers were shouting at me, the people in the street say, don't listen to them, Tim, you're one of us, So it had that odd effect of making me feel part of the community. The trouble came when the black soldiers received abuse from Irish people and people in my street and in my area, and then they turn to me and say, "Oh, no offence, Tim," and I'm standing there thinking, "Well, what on earth are you talking about? How do I make sense of this?" And that's still a problem. That's a very common black experience, I think. I mean, even I went to Anfield one time and people were being racist, and this was in the 80s, and they were shouting abuse at a black player, and then one of them turned to me and said, "Oh, don't you worry, you're one of us," So people in their heads, white people, I think, square this by just thinking, if I make an individual apology, or you in particular are okay, it's the rest of the blacks that I have an issue with, and they seem to think that legitimizes it, or that's okay. And because I was one person, then you sort of acquiesce in it, you shrug your shoulders, you can't walk around having fights all the time,
So, listening to Tim's commentary there, it's a reminder of where black people have come from in terms of being insulted. And obviously it goes without saying that they're equally as talented as any other race of people. And maybe you've convinced me now that we need this celebration to almost play catch up. It's a sad reflection on society, but it needs that we need to have a Black Star type show.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, I think in some ways the sad thing is that it is necessary, because talent is talent. It doesn't matter, what colour you are. Talent is talent, and all talent should be reflected. And everybody talented should have an opportunity to tell their story or to achieve their dreams. And I think that from what Tim is saying as well is what we think of as identity is a lot more complicated. So it's not just black and white. It's not just gay or straight. It's just not Catholic or Protestant, green or orange. It's lots of different things all mixed in. And, hopefully this season will help to sort of address some of that as well. I mean, I read Tim's book several years ago, and it was a really fascinating story. And when I found out, we were thinking about doing this, I thought, I wonder if he'd be happy or would be prepared to come and talk about it. And then I was pleased to see that it's actually been optioned. Hopefully will be a film. So there's a nice circularity there.
Yeah, just briefly, Tim, how close are we to the book being made a film?
Well, the Hollywood tends to move slowly, but there are 2 scriptwriters working away in LA as we speak, and hopefully you're talking in weeks that they'll be sending drafts of the script. Now, then we have to have meetings about agreeing that, because they're trying to get a whole lifetime or, 40 odd years into 90 minutes. And so we'll have to agree all of that. But then if we all agree the scripts, then I think that it starts to move a fair bit faster after that, But maybe, I don't know, a year, 18 months seems to be the general consensus,
Okay, we'll look forward to that if it makes the big screen.
The talk?
Yeah,
Oh, yes,
absolutely.
of course,
You're doing the talk as well. When is that?
It's tonight at the Queen's Film Theatre.
Tonight,
Yes.
what time is that at?
It's at 6:30.
6:30.
6:30,
Yeah.
QFT, and many other events as well at QFT, the Black Star season. And if you want more detail, of course, the QFT website, I presume so.
Yes, and also Film Hub NI website.
Lovely job. Here, Tim, tonight, 6:30 at the QFT. Thanks for coming in, fella. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frank.
Sue, thank you very much for your time.